This is the story of a voyage, a beautiful voyage along more than 1,100 miles of Norway's spectacular coastline. A Norway passage, the most beautiful voyage.
Når hurtigruta ropte land der utifra og sa var på nord og jeg sprang ned på køya for å se jeg hadde bestandig den drømmen da jeg var en liten pige med en diger fjord få komme med hurtigrute dit en gang skulle. Det var en fest som kom, 1001 natt med smak av salt.
The Hurtigruten ship Nord-Norge prepares to depart Bergen, Norway's second largest city. It's a cosmopolitan place full of art, music, and history, and along with ships of every sort, the coastal ferries arrive and depart from here every day. The Nord-Norge, a fairly large and very comfortable ship, was christened in 1997 and built to sail the narrow straits, deep fjords, and small harbors of the Norwegian coast. Now with freight, cars, and passengers aboard, the ship departs Bergen in the early evening. Our voyage begins. It's a 6-day trip north to Kirkenes on the border with Russia and well above the Arctic Circle, an 1,100-mile journey. Along the way, the Hurtigruten ships stop at 34 ports of call as they travel north and south along Norway's stunning coast. Some passengers will travel a short distance to visit friends or family up the coast. Others, especially in summer, will go the whole way up north. And some travelers will make the round trip, Bergen to Kirkenes and back to Bergen, a truly remarkable 12-day journey. Entering the Atlantic from Bergen, the Nord-Norge steers north and passes the island Kinneklova. We're underway. The sky darkens for a night that will last only about 4 hours. The ship briefly makes its first ports of call, Florø and Mole, as most passengers sleep. The vessels plying the Hurtigruten route are freight ships, mail boats, and passenger liners, all in one. For nearly 120 years, these ships have carried goods and people, transforming life along Norway's rocky and mountainous coast. In the wintertime, in the early days, a letter to a loved one in 4 days rather than 4 months. The first bananas to Tromsø, and thousands of Norwegians departing for new lives in America. These ships also carry tourists, people looking for the unusual vacation, a real adventure, and the chance to experience Norway's stunning coast, seaside towns and villages, and its people in a very close-up way.
It's my first trip to Norway. I've been on cruises before, but never anything as lovely as this. And with my new husband, it's fantastic.
We're almost on a honeymoon, yes.
Norway is the Scandinavian country along the Atlantic. It's a wealthy, varied, and scenically beautiful country, and its nearly 5 million citizens enjoy an admirable quality of life. A thriving offshore oil and gas industry has brought prosperity, but that's a new reality. Its history, the Vikings, domination by its neighbor countries, fishing and farming in an often harsh climate and challenging terrain, have created a strong and determined national character, great pride and love of country.
I grew up in Seattle. I was born in Norway. My cousins gave me a big book a couple of years ago, and I read through the book about 3 times about everything that's all these cities and towns on the way up north. It's incredible history and the commerce, the trades, and World War II and the Viking battles, and a very interesting part of the world.
On the morning of day 2, the Nord-Norge arrives in Ålesund, Norway's largest fishing town. A lovely city of 40,000, its center was consumed by fire in 1904. It was rebuilt in Art Nouveau style, now carefully preserved. Ålesund is the main entrance to Stjortfjord, the way to the astounding Grangierfjord. The majority of Norway's population lives along the coast and inland in the valleys carved by the glaciers. Historically, this made travel, especially north and south, a great challenge. The Hurtigrute, the express route, a network of coastal ferries, has made life, travel, and commerce far easier for more than 100 years. Grangierfjord, on the UNESCO's World Heritage List, is a magical place. Narrow and far from the open sea, with waterfalls crashing down steep mountainsides. As glaciers advanced and retreated from the coast, they carved great valleys through the mountain ranges. National Geographic listed the Norway fjords as the world's top tourist attraction. Grangir is the most spectacular fjord of all. Far above, tiny mountainside farms defy gravity. Some can only be reached by ladder. Norway's Queen and King, Sonja and Harald, celebrated their silver wedding anniversary at one of these farms. Their guests arrived by helicopter. The most famous waterfalls in the Grangir Fjord are the Seven Sisters and the Suder. The Suder faces the sisters across the fjord and tries to woo them. The bridal veil is so named because it falls delicately over one rocky edge and when backlit by the sun, has the appearance of a thin veil. The Nord-Norge makes its next scheduled stop at Molde, called the Town of Roses. Molde hosts a renowned jazz festival, and a good crowd greets the ship. As we dock, the Norlis, a sister ship, departs, heading south towards Bergen. A brief stop and we depart, but we're headed north towards the Arctic Circle.
Hvor mørkere nå har senket seg, går jeg stilt igjennom rommet. Og følelsene, dem sliter i meg, hva vil framtida gi? Og den arven vi har gitt deg, kan være tom å ta med seg. Vil du spørre oss, vil du laste oss, vil du kalle for et svik? Sola som gikk ned i kveld, hun skal skine for deg, min kjære. Og føglene som fri, dem skal vise vei, og alt skal bli Mykje lys og mykje varme. Tru og håp, det kan du få med. Mange tårer, tunge stunder, er redd for.
Kristiansand is an intriguing place. Home to a large trawler fleet, many of its residents are descendants of Scotsmen who came to supervise the salted and dried codfish industry in the 18th century. People may have lived in and around Kristiansand since 8000 BC. Today, it's a city that loves opera and hosts an important opera festival every year.
Som du haft igår. Du skrattar och du frågar om solen och om regnet och svaren som.
As the live and around-the-clock version of this program was being broadcast, more and more people began to gather to greet the ship as it traveled up the coast. They came down to the docks, accompanied the Nord-Norge in boats, stood on the bridges, and waved flags. It became an unanticipated national celebration, an expression of national pride.
Och fågeln som är fri ska visa väg och allt ska bli mycket ljus och mycket värme. Tro och hopp, det får du med dig. Många tårar, tunga stunder, är jag rädd för att det blir. Jag solar som.
It's day 3, and the Nord-Norge arrives at Trondheim, Norway's traditional historic, cultural, and religious capital. This once Viking town, now a university city, is a center for scientific and industrial research, and its old city is full of historical delights. The ship will spend the morning at the dock, and passengers make their way through the growing crowds of well-wishers to explore the city. Many will walk to the Nidaros Cathedral, built in the 11th century over the grave of Viking King Olaf Haraldsson, Norway's patron saint.
Drømte mange gang at jeg en dag skulle reise av sted til.
About 3 hours sail north from Trondheim is the Skiangshad Lighthouse, one of the most beautiful along the coast.
Skipene lå.
Many generations of lighthouse keepers raise families on this tiny perch.
Unge menn gå ombord.
Today, there are well-wishers to greet the Nord-Norge.
Kom tilbake med jeg har stolthet ombord. Na, 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 jag ville en dag bli kapten på världens största skepp.
We have not been to Norway before. This is our first experience. Have been in Scandinavia, but we always wanted to see Norway, and here we are.
Same with us. We've never been in any Scandinavian countries. Many other places in Europe, but not Norway or any of the Scandinavian countries. And we find it very fascinating and different from what we've seen before in Europe.
The Nord-Norge is carefully steered through the narrow Stocksund Strait with little clearance on either side of the ship. Rørvik, a fishing and farming town on the Vikna archipelago, turns out to celebrate Hurtigruten Day each year, especially this year with bands, fireworks, and large crowds. North and southbound ships meet at Rørvik every day of the year, reminding people of how vital the Hurtigruten service has been to life and commerce along the coast. Along the Helgeland coast, mountain peaks and ocean vistas surround us. Countless islands and skerries create sheltered coves. Torghatten is a mountain rising from the sea with a hole in its middle. According to legend, the hole was made by a troll while he was chasing the beautiful girl Lekamoya. When the troll realized he would not get the girl, he shot an arrow at her, but the troll king of Somna threw his hat into the arrow's path to save her. The hat turned into a mountain with a hole in its middle. As more and more people watched this voyage on live television, the crowds continued to swell. At Brønnøysund, it's a very happy mob gathered at midnight.
her og ser med misunnelse på det jeg har hørt Brønnøysunds spesialitet, og det iskremmene.
Ja, softisen I Brønnøysund det verdens beste softis, så det et av hovedpunktene med turen. Det når vi får gå på land I Brønnøysund og kjøpe softis.
Hvordan smaker den da, så gjør den til verdens beste?
Den smaker veldig godt, vil du smake? Det ferske jordbær og sjokolade.
Hvorfor ikke?
salten fjord. Han slår og han sliter og han river. Herregud, hvor sterk og stor. Nu står han og svist etter.
Early in the morning, we crossed the Arctic Circle, marked with a globe on the small island of Vikingen. Now we're in the land of the midnight sun, and we'll have 24 hours of daylight for the rest of our journey north. This poses a dilemma for many passengers who don't want to miss a minute of the passing scenic splendor, but need to get some sleep. The Gulf Stream, with its warm waters, moderates Norway's climate and keeps its coast ice-free. Without the Gulf Stream, Norway and all of Scandinavia would be more like Greenland. We coastal voyagers are grateful for all that warm water.
The scenery is spectacular, just hard to describe even.
Never being here before, I didn't know what to expect. You read about it and hear about it, but to see it actually for yourself makes a big difference.
At midday, we dock in Buda, just north of the Arctic Circle. Most of Buda was destroyed during the Second World War. Today, it's a spacious, modern town of 45,000.
mistet jeg hurtigruta for et øyeblikk igjen. Jeg er altså i Bodø, men jeg har tenkt meg til Saltstraumen i en mindre båt.
There are excursions available to the Nord-Norge's passengers all along the coastal trip, and at Buda, there's the chance to visit Saltstraumen, where twice a day the combination of powerful currents and a narrow channel create a vast rush of water with violent maelstroms, whirlpools. It's the most powerful in the world and an exciting adventure.
In the light of what we see as true, in this great pursuit of finding gold, I can't tell what makes me feel so sure and yet so insecure about where it lies. Am I getting close till I drift away?
For those making their first trip above the Arctic Circle, King Neptune presides over a happy celebration. Those wishing to be baptized receive a bracing initiation to the ranks of polar explorer, along with a warming drink.
It has to be done.
It has to be done.
We do what has to be done. Cheers.
With its small fishing villages nestled in the fjords and a rugged coast with peaks rising directly from the ocean, the Lofoten Islands are renowned for their picture postcard beauty. These are the great codfish grounds, especially in winter. The Nord-Norge stops at Stamsund in the early evening as the sun falls behind the mountains crowding the town. Beyond Henningsvåg, the Nord-Norge greets another sister ship, the MS Kung Harald, on its way south. It's one of a dozen traveling the coast in summertime.
Når hurtigruta ropte land der utefra og sa hun var på nord, og jeg sprang ned på køya for å se. Jeg hadde bestandig den drømmen da jeg var en liten pia med en diger fjord, om å få komme med hurtigrute dit jeg en gang skulle.
Svolvær is the Lofoten's principal town.
Det var en fest som kom.
A statue of a fisherman's wife stands at the harbor's mouth. This old fishing village now profits from tourists coming from all over the world to see these stunning islands. Throughout the Lofotens, we see cod drying in the sun and wind on tall and stout wooden lattices. Stockfish, a product easily transported to market for hundreds of years.
Med høge rot på trosset som ble kastet hardt mot kajen for å festes. Det var den store verden som la til. Særlig om kveld, når hurtigruta ropte langt der utefra og sa hun var på nord, og jeg sprang ned på køya for å se. Jeg hadde bestandig den drømmen da jeg var en liten pia med om å få komme med.
We come and go, and it's a little sad to put these beautiful places behind us, but the ship must move on. These waters, this coast, these islands were home to the Vikings. From here, over more than 300 years, they raided the British Isles, towns and cities along the North Sea and the Mediterranean, even going all the way to Russia. They were also traders and colonizers. Dublin was founded by Vikings. It was a coastal people's remarkable boat-building skills and seamanship that helped create this chapter of Norway's history. Norwegian trolls had several fjords to call their own. They opted for Troll Fjord. It's 2 miles long and just 100 yards wide at its mouth, requiring the ship's captain to make a very tight U-turn. The scenery is especially spectacular, and the local trolls put on quite a show.
I was amazed. I didn't realize how high the mountains were and how many waterfalls there were, and topped with glaciers or ice on top. Very interesting, beautiful, beautiful.
My intent of going up the Norwegian coast, and I had that wish for a long time, was to see the midnight sun. And I wanted, and last night actually the sun didn't set. I was on the deck at midnight and shooting pictures of the sunset. So it was very beautiful.
Du skal nærme deg den langsomt ifra sjøen. Når det gryr av dag og natta takker av. Du skal fryse litt og lengte etter frokost. Du skal se en gammel kirke speilt i hav. Du skal runde nakne nes og se at sola lysker luggen och då. Du ska stå ombord och se att trossen kastar.
We arrive at midday in Tromsø, the capital of Arctic Norway and gateway to the Arctic Ocean.
Som tar emot.
Ankomst i Tromsø, så ber vi om at kun
Its first church was built in 1252. The largest city in North Norway, it's been inhabited since the Stone Age.
Vi venter mye mennesker på kajen i Tromsø, så det bare å gå ut på dekk 5 og nyte.
In the 1800s, it was known as the Paris of the North. There's time ashore to take in the town center, visit the Tromsø Cathedral, and a little museum celebrating all the Arctic exploration launched from here.
Det ble sagt at hun var lite lik den planten hun bar navna. Hun var registrert i Harstad og ble brukt til småsildfrakt. Og han Halvdan som var skjepper sto for vett og manøvrering. Han var utskolert i Tromsø i kompassnavigasjon. Mens han Harderi fra hamna sto for koking og servering. Og han Hilton passa motoren en 60 Union.
Leaving Tromsø, a sense that our voyage will not go on forever descends.
Det var sild på Finnmarksfjorden, det ble lange føringsveier, til fabrikka ifra Borgenes til sørst på Helgeland. Men han Halvdan og han Hilton var jo lommekjent langs leia, så den sida av Harstad kom seg alltid uskatt fram. Det var minner at dem stolte på han hadde røngstemann, som var kokk og Siri Halar, servitør og slingermann. Han ble teltrur og tarotør over Porsanger og Tana, og der leia eller slo i sikker avstand unna land. Det gikk bra til i desember, da de kom av Repparfjorden, og la turen innom Tromsø der den skulle være snar.
The Midnattsol, another Hurtigruten coastal ferry, passes with balloons and waving sailors. A cheerful meeting.
Vatten og solar, men langs alle livets leie, det frestes av fara, og i Tromsø finnes en kjeller der han makt servere øl. Så han
An unexpected delight is the delivery of locally fished prawns to be cooked and enjoyed on deck.
syndens pest og øl.
We've come about as far north as we will. The Nord-Norge docks in Honningsvåg, where an excursion to Northkapp, the North Cape, awaits.
Det her er Arvid. Han er den beste sjåføren på øya. Og jeg heter Ina. Og nå skal vi til Nordkapp.
We're welcomed by a Sami man and his reindeer. The Sami are the indigenous people of the north, and some still live in traditional ways. It may not officially be Europe's most northerly point, but with its 1,000-foot-high cliff and variable weather, it will certainly do. At the very top of Norway, the North Cape is the point where the Norwegian Sea, part of the Atlantic Ocean, meets the Barents Sea, part of the Arctic Ocean. With Nordkapp behind us, it's now a trip east into the Barents Sea to Kirkenes and the Russian border at the end of this remarkable voyage. We pass the elegant sea cliffs, Finnjerka, the Finn Church, a cathedral of stone. choppy seas, a local fisherman arrives with an intriguing and delicious catch: Kamchatka king crabs for lunch.
Russerne, de tok den fra Kamchatka på østsiden av Russland, og så satt den ut I Kolafjorden I 1962, også de årene som kom etter. Og krabben, han kunne ikke se grenser under vann, så han kom over til Norge. Selv under den kalde krigen. Så da, I 1977, så fanget vi det første kongekrabben øst I Finnmark. Og etterpå det det blitt veldig mange.
Pass along the Finnmark coast. It's the most northern and eastern county of Norway and has borders with Finland and Russia. The coastal areas are barren. Much of the interior is above the tree line, but with birch forests in the river valleys. All along the coast, there are seabird nesting colonies: razorbills, guillemots, gannets, kittiwakes, seagulls, and of course puffins, thousands of them. It's a birder's paradise. This televised voyage captured Norway's attention, including that of the Prime Minister, Jens Stoltenberg, proudly tweeting, "This is Norway at its best." He telephoned Geir Arne Johannesson, the Nord-Norge's captain, to offer congratulations and best wishes as the ship neared this trip's final destination.
Kom og lytt til lyset når det gryr av dag. Solen løfter sin trompet mot munnen. Lytt til hvite sommerfuglers vingeslag. Denne dag Stien som vi gick igår är like ny. Hemmelig som ved vårt første morgengry. Mangt skal vi møte, mangt skal vi mestre.
Nearing Kirkenes at the end of our voyage, the ship's passengers and crew are delighted to encounter Norway's Queen Sonja aboard the royal yacht Norge. The Queen is here for an event to remember the witch trials in Vardø 350 years ago. As we take her photograph, she takes ours. This royal encounter was an unexpected bonus for all.
It is the most beautiful voyage that I ever had. I've been on different ships and everything, but this one beats them all.
If you ever get a chance to do it, do it. It's probably one of the best trips.
Kjære, lytt til mørket når vår dag gått. Natten hinner over fjerne åser.
We arrive at Kirkenes, the end. At least for those not making the now southbound round trip on the Hurtigruten Nord-Norge. 6 days, 1,100 miles, and a stunning double eye full of spectacular sights and astounding vistas. A remarkable and completely memorable experience. It was a Norway passage, a grand one. And it surely was the most beautiful voyage.